Hello and welcome to another episode of Information Security, InfoSec, Philosophy and Theory. It's a series, and this particular episode is going to be an angry one. It's angry, and we're angry at malicious entities. So we have an article from my publication on Medium, and we have a map. Let's get into the map of the article. And here it is. So for those tuned in visually, you can see, but I'll also speak about what you see here. Flashing Cells of Digital Illiteracy is the title. A darkest article about obscurity. So this article will blend various layers of security professional work. We have a secret layer. So we have life experience. We have a business layer, a professional layer, and a specialization layer, and the normal positive secret layer. So, as you see here, a major aspect here in the beginning, going from left to right with all this, and then from top to bottom on a map, is you see, and the lines interrelate all these basically headings and concepts from the article. So, life experience from the secret layer is a big heading, and it moves into what the dark triad is. And horizontally here on the map, though, you see that money and electricity in a business sense are very related to life experience, and what is possible in life can be amplified and has significance through what we call money and electricity. And money I define as the storage of my economic energy from my time and freedom in this life experience. So, and then electricity you basically need for everything if you live in north or south hemispheres to power everything, unless you have learned to live as people had lived for millennia before electricity. So, and then information security is right under money and electricity, for very obvious reasons. Now you see how the dark triad is somehow very related here. Now, what is the dark triad? Well, malicious people and organizations, let's say. I would say perhaps even entire societies and cultures sometimes. Now, so professionally and specializationally, web application security testing, is related, and Recon here sits within that testing dimension. So yeah, we'll get into that in the article. Now, the technologies such as Web3 are the new frontier innovations. And you see how, well, these malicious entities and how security testing of these new technologies, it's almost in a sense, they're both being approached. Now, horizontally moving on a map here. So Bitcoin, understand technology and digital literacy. So there's rapid daily news and advancement. So there's something happening, okay? And so there's a solution in the article that I'll talk about. It's to disclose and work with personal intolerance of dark triad non-relations. This is from the secret normal layer. Let's get into it. So, article title, Flashing Cells of Digital Illiteracy, published on Cyberpower Telenoia. NFT article header. Let's begin. My year's end private photo cornucopias for 2022 link to this introductory warning about digital illiteracy, which I know only 1% of recipients will read at some point. You know who you are. Warning. After living in 3 countries for a few months at a time in 2022, I've witnessed places and people, and I'm posting my image album selections a while later, primarily for the enjoyment of my treasured relations, and secondly for positive security reasons, since my experiences with an instance of a severe, covert, malicious, and destructive narcissistic sociopath, plus a similar psychopath, I rarely publish any of the last 2 places I dwell in, nor any current actions or faces of family and friends. Of course, any telecommunications computing device I previously connected to a government ID gives away all data which it can sense, so this is at least a measure I take with a conceived plan. Unfortunately, and for the safety of family and friends, I'm not going to publish their presence until we agree to use the right tools and technologies in the direction of Signal and Farcaster as examples, and NOSTR protocol at this point. This is disappointing for me. It seems to be caused by the same ubiquity of smartphones as the tolerance of malignant disease such as unnecessary mental disorder in society appearing as mere significant opinion. Through a personal evolving line of work as an information security consultant specializing in private offensive security testing of Web3 crypto ecosystem applications, I have come to experience that the amount of malicious people and organizations is so rampant and exponentially growing that this might be the last time that I share such images on a popular centralized platform. It seems social media is now used overtly and explicitly as a drug and for manipulating as many people as possible for profit at the cost of all life. And the how-to is at the local used bookstore, in free online courses, and in AI conversations. This is so hideous. I am glad there are alternate realms that can only be attained by inner work, by human design. I don't mean hideous in the sense that I can't handle mean people emotionally, or that something is ugly. I've been told to turn off my feelings to see what it's like not to care that there are psychopaths around. That's exactly the ill program, the issue. There is a difference between reactive feeling and positive emotions which diminish with the sense that something is objectively wrong. And by investigating what money and electricity is, being able to define these for oneself in one's own words, for example, as the economic energy of time and freedom, is helpful. If I attune, that's one story for another article. And I am from the future, so the article already exists. If I freelance for mixed Bitcoin as compensation and see it as digital gold, exchangeable for the ultimate in life, such as food and shelter, I may begin to live outside of all countries and possibly thrive. If I understand technology and digital arts, I can begin to have the system aligned for me. The malicious types weave like a swarm towards tools that help them manipulate others for profit. This is increasingly seen as ordinary, but ordinary is not normal. Drugged audiovisual experience design is the primary attack vector facing children today, because in this way they feel something. Who or what feels something? I do this posting of images as part of an intentional project because without any images, I would be more on radar and becoming less related to everyone, which is the curse of mass neurological disorder, while making it seem as if the opposite is happening. So I keep referencing images here. This is because I wrote the article just before I shared my yearly best of. I do this on a yearly basis. Best of images online on social media. I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but I'm quite apprehensive when I do. In other words, I can tell what they can be used for and the horrors of that. The horror. Absolute horror. Like, our images are used for what you can't even imagine. There's people who are born and bred and specialize professionally on a business level and on a level at the military industrial complex and even higher in secret malicious layers They specialize in how to use everything and all the data that you put online in a way that will steal your life from you. Literally, take your life, so your time and freedom on this planet, and use it for their own gain. So let's continue with the article. It is dangerous at peril to be using digital technology for personal means without an understanding of how one works, how computing devices work, and how most major business over the deep web destructively affects life on Earth. I have at least a kindergarten understanding of the human intricacies at the interface with digital technologies, all the way to the paranormal, and I have met the 1% of people at two psychological extremes. So it is possible for me to state that I have a taste for moving around, which is why and how I do it. What I see is a naked majority in transparent homes with void spiritual foundations belonging to about 10 people who do not even care that they have followers. If you share an image on Facebook straight from your camera, you are giving away almost everything about yourself in every image of your face for free and paying for it with your life and the lives of those in future generations. Let me give an example that just came to mind. So any single second with a phone that's been tapped a certain way through the camera can give a 3D reading remotely for anyone at the other end of exactly everything in your home, in your personal space around you, and the economic energy of those items. And if your items around you have high economic energy, then you're on radar. If the items around you have a low economic energy, you're also on radar and a part of their success. So if your account is not targeted for some violation, then it means you are worthless to the controllers. A violation means you either are stupid or intelligent, not ordinary. You're only worth something if you solve some issue at the level of national or transnational security, the values of the program of your area, spanning metaphysical, spiritual matters to the atom. Pick a city and ask yourself why it exists. What are all those people doing and why? Is the city known for producing anything? If it is, try doing something better or worse, and you will be seen if you post photos. By post photos, I mean anything to do with your data stream. Not actually seen by biological eyes, but as data by the algorithms. I spent my youth in a location known for producing some of the finest new telecommunications in the world when these were being developed for the first cellular phones. That gold rush of a movement could have made a community dressed in gold today. There is no trace of any profit there now. The city was amalgamated. It looks worse than a few decades ago. People do not even remember anymore. It's mostly new immigrants who seem to be content with a better place. Basically happy slaves. So I know what I am writing about by experience. The city I'm talking about was called Kanata. It doesn't exist anymore, although you can use that address and the letters will still get there. None of the images I post are uploaded with EXIF data, but this is merely one tip. If you don't personally trust the people responsible for the design of the telecommunications in your computing devices, then ignorance better be bliss. There are computers designed with every chip being traced to its source, but most people don't care about that. As any sane person knows, oceans do not exist. They are actually one body of water. Countries do not exist. These are only cultures and societies based on their various relations. Yet the most powerful political jurisdictions are in a raging war, which can be witnessed by intermittent disclosure through news articles about cyber attacks, words about which most people know nothing, as these attacks happen everywhere in the main technologized realms every day. These assaults continue because of the suppression of truth surrounding spirituality and electrical current distribution, the deep end of technology and psychology, the reason for all wars, poverty, and ecological destruction. This is caused by a spiritual crisis in which barely anyone is competent enough to hold attention to objective values during a rising rate of technological and digital illiteracy. That is why the test came for millions to go home for a bit across all nations. I hope that was enough time to contemplate. The situation is so bad that by now a group of teenagers with several days of focus and mentorship can start bypassing the technology securing the assets of a multitude of transnational businesses which can be accessed remotely in electrified first world countries. Of course, it is better they jump around to pop songs, eat grease, and remain self-assured of YOLO as cool. Kanye West does have and does sense something, though. I hope he makes it in time. If you have images online and business websites but have never considered security, privacy, and anonymity, then again, it is certain that ignorance is bliss, and best keep to yourself, hide away, and do not relate with anyone. Meanwhile, it takes about $500 for a war-traumatized teenager to build a 3D printed flying weapon connected to real-time pseudo-artificial intelligence, which locates you overhead. The files are available for download today on the real internet, the ClearNet, and, of course, the darknet, dark web. Anywhere people live that consider this to be my own sick conspiracy theory is completely ripe for major attacks which begin at the human level of being naive not to consider remote threats. Obviously, the dark triad looks for the nicest people they can speak to on drugs while touching in two spots simultaneously. I have at least one psychopath in my Facebook connections whose relations might read this and mistake what I am concerned about. Those of the dark triad often appear as loving and successful family members with good reputations and high social life, the means and drugs to do as they please, but the deep manipulative opposites are facts, all the way to actual conjurings and cross-life, out-of-body witchcraft of target senses. If you really know such entities, then you have been a victim, as they all have no friends, obviously, and do not relate to anyone unless they can manipulate, due to the unhealed growing stench of trauma, again appearing to be the senses as spring roses. Appearing to the senses as spring roses. Usually they were unwanted and hated at youth. You can test this by checking if the people they currently spend time with have been around for more than a few years, and if they only see their friends when they feel like it once every few months. They play with time. They know the blood markets. Over time, all war is forgotten. From family lies to genocide, memorials are made and the result remains a win for the war. Part of my work is to observe deceased groups of people over time because as the deceased in trauma, so let me read that again. Part of my work is to observe diseased groups of people over time, such as sociopaths and narcissists, because as the deceased in trauma, yes, deceased, as those who are passed on, they have habits that manifest in all severe, covert, malicious, and destructive behavior injected as code in web software for profiteering. A habit is a repeating process. In code, it's an algorithm. The web. A net. Your network is your network. Is your net worth? Is your net worth? What is of ultimate value? So, yeah, I'm reading that and you can replay it, but the previous paragraph, what is meant by it is I observe the dark triad, and they have certain habits, and those habits can be replayed in code. So back to information security and web application security testing. So perhaps we can just show the map for a second here. So you see here how web application security testing in the dark triad. So by knowing that money and electricity is essential, and by observing that the dark triad will try to tap into it and do something so that they control and have power over it, and especially new technologies that are emerging, such as Bitcoin and so on, and new iteration of the internet, like distributed ledger technologies. So by security testing the applications that use these technologies, with Recon at the beginning, so you need to professionally know that such entities are around and how they function. And so they will be programming into the code the algorithms of their own behavior. This is what I'm saying there. And so if in in your life you have networks of certain kinds of people who are perhaps naive. Let's see this next sentence from the article here. So a web, or the web here. So we're talking about the World Wide Web. So is it a net? Your network, so your actual, what you do in life, is your network, right? So you go out there and you provide a service in life, usually to others who pay you, even if it's your own business. So you are networking, and that is your net worth. And is your net worth that? So what is the ultimate value here, right? And so on. It's just a play on words there, but I didn't want to just skim over that too fast. I mean, I'm reading it fast and understanding it, but it's worth pausing and thinking about it. I like to sometimes insert abstract, ways of looking at things, because that's my artistic side, and that is a power that I have over those who are just in the specialization layer. Professionally, I believe it's good to have knowledge of various dimensions and in one sphere. And I'm from the future, so I've written the articles and published the podcast episodes about that already. So continuing with the article, this is why I am sharing the selected image albums which intentionally convey certain reflections. This post has been text and will now have a few images introducing the next posts. Last year was fascinating for me to see that almost nobody from my Facebook connections, whom I personally remember fondly and cherish as having met in life, responded to anything I posted. I've been out trying to survive through attacks only to return to an empty palace. 10 years ago, many living beings would be excited to share stories with their actual connections. Now it's about random entities, often programmatic responses with deep fake profile faces, just to get a high from a like. Pure bliss. The target is the senses of the youth, the next generations. What came to mind there in one sentence is that this is a destruction of family relations and friendships. And this is what, this is actually on an agenda. There are actually famous pop stars who sing about how awesome it is not to have friends and just to be free to do whatever one wants. The news just came in that it's best not to connect with someone who has no likes, because otherwise the algorithm and machine will lower your rating, your income, your friends, and overall thriving. This is because you cease to be a part of the program, literally, and you get deleted from the pulse of the network. This is not a conspiracy theory, it's part of the data mining that human resources now do in major companies. And it is accepted by both sides as ordinary. Yeah, now 2 years later, I have little to none interactions with my social media posts where of which the network originated amidst my closest relations in life. Usually I have one person responding sometimes to something that I've spent considerable amount of time pondering, preparing, and unusually flagging as significant at this point in life, believing that others are there with me. They're not. Nobody cares. Almost nobody. It's quite dangerous out there. So this all has to do with risk analysis. So I'm not hurt by this. I just see how quickly everything can be destroyed. And so what is the point of participating in society and building anything in society when it can, and it has been destroyed completely multiple times? It's like, there is no point in doing anything except finding a warm place to live with a garden for your family and others who wish to join you on that. So I have access to open source intelligence gathering techniques on my computer, which are available to anyone with basic computing skills and the ability to have 10 seconds of undivided attention every few moments. When attention is held, it expands time, of which there is none. The solutions all exist and have existed for centuries. They are readily available. Even on a practical, realistic way, some entities already have alternate new energy sources and decentralized, secure social new media. There are people who do not exist in any notebook, digital or ink. On the bright side, they might be completely free. On the dark side, they are breeding, killing machines. There is a difference between theory, philosophy, and practical being. Unfortunately, the rogue criminal covert types also study this in spiritual intelligence, but fortunately for life, it is not possible for them to live the transmission. They only appear to appear. That is why they try to take. They remain unwanted, hated children until their trauma is healed. Not through business or drugs or anyone but their pure self. I have yet to hear of such an entity who has healed. Since I'm in a position where my posts seem to be nothing compared to cute kittens, I will end on the note that I spent 7 years at university level new media and 2 years studying telecom with a passion for making the world an awesome place through the poetry of technology. I now take the time to curse the entities who are destroying this dream by ignorance, and I call them out as sick fucks in leet speak. Go to your hell and burn. Consumed by your own fire, you might cease to have a coarse existence. To reiterate what I've previously written in this blog, now is a good time to share about the narcissistic, sociopathic, and psychopathic family member within your deeper family circle, friends, relations, and the public. Because with current technologies, if this is not done, then your image might just become a deep fake to your family in this lifetime. And that ends this angry article. The keywords to it were technological literacy, digital literacy, photography, InfoSec, dark triad personality. I had 2 claps, as you see, for 2 years. Okay. Well, this was important to present as part of the series. Since the original publication, I believe I have evolved this topic through discussions and through research and work, but I will leave it as such. And I thank you for tuning in. I hope this episode brought some darkness into your light for a moment. And BitcoinSecurityMaps.com is the website for the podcast. If you enjoy this content, you may offer support through NOSTR and its clients, and through Fountain.fm is a good podcast listening app where you can send Satoshis, which is bits of Bitcoin, to support the ongoing development and research. And I enjoy it, and I will see you at the meetups.